Okay, Cinda said we were going to start on time, so we're going to start while people keep walking in. Good morning. Welcome to the 20th anniversary Cultivating the Harvest Inland Northwest Small Acreage Farming Conference. It's been 20 years since our first conference, and I am delighted to be here. I'm Colette DePhelps. I'm with University of Idaho Extension in Community Food Systems serving North Idaho, and
hello, I'm Cinda Williams. I'm a retired University of Idaho Extension educator. Used to work in food systems and small farms over 20 years.
So Cinda and I are really happy to be here today. Those of you that already know us know that we were a duo 20 years ago, and we're part of the leadership of putting on that first conference. And in this welcome, we not only want to go over what is going to happen today at the conference, but kind of take you through a walk through the last 20 years in a celebratory way about some of the great things that have happened, where we started, and where we've come.
Thank you, Colette. So 20 years ago this weekend, coincidentally, the first Cultivating the Harvest conference was at this same location, same room. It was our the very first in the region type of conference to focus on sustainable and organic agriculture for small farmers and ranchers. Colette and I were part of a collaborative effort of University of Idaho Extension. At the time, myself, Vicki Parker-Clark, who is our Kootenai County Extension person, WSU Extension at the time, Don Dysart was the small farm coordinator out of the Spokane office. Both Colette and our dear departed friend, Peggy Adams, were part of Palouse Clearwater Environmental Institute. And Diane Green, who's here today also, was part of the newly formed Inland Northwest Community Food Systems Association. That's a long, big mouthful. And we eventually, that evolved into what is now Rural Roots. Much easier to say. So Rural Roots was just getting developed at that time, and they were a big part of this conference. It was a 3-day conference. We didn't have the energy anymore to do a 3-day conference. And it had notable keynotes, such as Michael Shuman. Some of you have probably heard of him. He's an expert on local economies and the author of Going Local and many other books. He's awesome. We also had successful, sustainable farmer Larry Thompson, who's from Damascus, Oregon. He has 100 acres of fruits and vegetables, and he was really dynamic in leading us off into where we are today. So thank you to both Michael and Larry. I don't really know exactly because we couldn't find a lot of the materials. Oops. But we had over 25 breakout sessions. Does that sound about right? And amazingly, through the effort of Peggy Adams, we were able to feature local and sustainably grown food at that conference. I know those of you that are new to these whole conferences and stuff don't realize what a feat that was. It was, let me tell you. So we felt really proud of that. We sang along with our friend, Methodist minister and local food promoter, John Pitney, who's now in the Portland area. We sang to his songs, the local market band, That's My Farmer, and the Beneficial Bug Song. You heard that song, Bill? Beneficial Bug Song? I think you need to hear that. Bill is an entomologist who's going to be speaking to us later, so I thought he'd connect with that. Over the 3 days, we had over 150 people attend. I think it was 170 actually, but I didn't want to exaggerate. Do you remember? So I backed it to 150. Speakers shared their expertise. People made new connections. And we developed a community of farmers, educators, and supporters with similar values and goals for our local food system, sustainable small farms and ranches. It was an awesome conference, and I think everybody who was there could say so. So, how many of you here were at that conference? Come on, stand up. Oh my gosh, there weren't that many. I thought there'd be more of you. Yeah, Ellen and Diane. Russell was there. I know you were. He's shy. He won't stand up. Kate was there. Anybody else that I missed? Okay. Ken was there. Yeah, I thought you were. You did a session. Okay, so a few of us are still around and kicking. That conference was accomplished when things were very different in our food systems. At the time, there was only a few people in Extension that were programming specifically for small farmers. Very few, if any. Well, actually, I was the only one that had a sustainable ag program title. Nobody had organic programming focus. Our two universities had no courses, yet alone degrees, focused on sustainable or organic farming. Now both do. We've come a long way, haven't we, Lynn? And at the time, very little research. We had the groundbreaking work that John Reganold did at WSU on organic agriculture. It was one of some papers that he published were some of the first to talk about what is organic agriculture. But other than that, we didn't have that focus in our programming. So where did we get all this information that we presented to new small acreage wannabe farmers? Other farmers. We got information from other states that were way ahead of us. We got information from SARE, Sustainable Agriculture Research and Education, information from ATRA, now I'm going to forget it. But ATRA is an organization that's been putting out sustainable and organic agriculture information for at least 20 years, if not 25. I'll just add this. First I want to say, originally, our keynote speaker, Barbara Petty, was going to be here for the second half of the intro. She is our extension director. She couldn't make it. She was in Seattle, got stuck in Seattle, and so we are filling in. Those of you that know me and know that I don't talk off a script, you're seeing me look at a script. That's because I put this together because I thought I was going to have to do it in 3 minutes. I don't have to do it in 3 minutes anymore, so I can segue off into whatever I want. But the problem is, at this age, I have to remember where I was. So I've already forgotten. Anyway, so what was I talking about? I'm serious. I did forget. Okay, I was talking about where we were in organic food systems and sustainable agriculture, so I'm just going to move on. We have come a long way today, and Colette and I are going to share a few things with you, and many of our other speakers in coming sessions are going to give you examples of where our universities have come and how they have prioritized small farms, yes, organic agriculture, and local food systems education and research. For instance, our program that we started shortly after Rural Roots developed 20 years ago was our education program's Cultivating Success. How many of you have heard of Cultivating Success? Okay, nobody raised their hand, but I know a lot of you have. Okay. That program has has had its ups and downs over the years, and now it is at an all-time high. It is statewide, and we've had a lot of people go through that program over the years, including some of our now small farm and food system extension educators that we have working for the university went through that program. And a few of you farmers went through that program. So that's been very successful. I think Colette's going to tell you a little bit more about some of the program changes we've had. What I wanted to say is that at that time, things were very, very different, not just at the university, but in the whole small farm local food systems arena. We were way ahead of our time to think about starting that organization called the Inland Northwest Community Food Systems Association. Nobody was talking about that at the time. Nobody talked about food systems, let alone local food systems. And so we've come a long way. Today in our panel session, we have 4 farmers that will be with us. We're going to talk about some of the changes that have gone on in the food system and with them on their small farms and what's that means to the future farmers and where we're going. So that'll be interesting. So I'm going to wrap this up, believe it or not. The times are changing, and I couldn't be prouder of all of you that have helped contribute to that over the last 20 years. When Colette said, I think we should do a 20th anniversary conference from our first one, I said, I'm in, and I'm retired. I've been hiding out in Troy for 2.5 years, yeah. So I came back to get involved in this because it meant so much to me, and you all mean so much to me. I am and will always be a part of this community of people, and I'm really looking forward to today and all that we're going to learn about where we're going in the future. I did want to say that I have the CD from John Pitney, and at our celebration later when we have cake, we'll play some of these songs, so I expect to sing along. We couldn't get John here in person, but yeah. I have a challenge for you today. As you listen, learn, and connect with other attendees today, I'd like you to think about this. What will you personally do in the next 5, 10, even 20 years, imagine that, to contribute to the success of our small farms and ranches, promote sustainable and organic agriculture, and strengthen our local food systems? So think about that, and we're going to come back to that later when we end the day. And I'll leave you now and let Colette talk.
Thank you, Cinda. As Cinda said, we've come a long ways. So 20 years ago, sustainable was a word that was politically hot. Now we talk about sustainable ag all the time. And if sustainable was hot, you can kind of imagine how organic was, or permaculture, or biodynamic. Those are things that we've learned a lot about in terms of production, farmers on the land learning and sharing, and researchers getting on board and starting to look at these systems and understand more about what is in those systems and how they can help farmers advance their production. We were also in a situation, as Cinda said, that very few people even knew what a food system was. And while we're still on that trajectory of growing and understanding the food system, what I've seen happen in the last 20 years is we've really come to a place that we're working together on a food system level. And a lot of that is going to be infused in the conversations that are happening today, both in the morning research briefs that you're going to hear, but also looking at the different topics that are being covered in the farmer-to-farmer sessions in the afternoon. We have a charge to be leaders, and I think a lot of us have been leaders over the last 20 years, But it's those leaders that are forging some of those uncomfortable boundaries that are really making change and are willing to take the risk to pull this movement forward. And it really is a movement because it's based in values and vision. And we all have shared values. And while our vision for the future might not be exactly the same, we've come together with enough commonality that we can forge ahead and learn together along the way. And what I am really excited about is that our universities are now embracing our vision at a level that they had not done before. As Cinda said, we have more extension educators. In Idaho, we have over 10 extension educators that have small farms specifically in their job description. We have over 6 extension educators that have food systems in their job description. This summer, I was part of a planning group looking at artisan grains here on the Palouse and in the inland Northwest, and the deans of the College of Ag and Life Sciences at University of Idaho and the College of Ag and Human and Natural Resources at Washington State University got up and talked about the university's commitment. And they were able to talk about things that the universities are doing to promote sustainable and organic agriculture and local food systems. And the dean of WSU actually looked up the locavore index for Washington and Idaho. And Washington is 10, Idaho is 11 nationally. And that really says something about where we are. And Idaho has jumped from 17 to 11. Local food is strong, and it's an identity that we have across the state. And we see that not only in the farmers markets and the direct markets that have grown, but we're also seeing that with more restaurants looking to source local. And there's definitely a whole platform of, having that be a condiment on the menu to people really trying to have that be a staple on the menu, that we're moving forward in that area. We're also seeing things like we have new viticulture areas and innovation in that whole wine industry. And then when we get to the craft and artisan beverage industry, whether it's kombucha or raw milk or locally roasted coffees and blended teas, and then we're looking at our craft distilleries, looking at our craft brewers. It's really amazing to see the change in the landscape and the understanding that people have about what local food is and the importance of taste and quality. But I think what really drives people to come together around local food is community. People care about where they come from, and I think that we are seeing a cultural shift where people are wanting to be more and more connected. And through time, we've been connected through food, and we're also connected through telling our stories. And if any of you were at the play last night, I mentioned how story is what binds us. It's what helps us understand each other and find that common ground where we can come together and create that vision for the future that we're willing to work on together to get there. There's some other really exciting things that are happening right now in terms of the landscape of sustainable agriculture. And that is that we're really focusing on developing some of that infrastructure that we've lost that is between the farm and the plate. So we're going to have Beth Robinette here from Link Foods in the afternoon, and she'll be telling that story, to developing things like distribution systems that help us aggregate our product, something that we were talking about 20 years ago. Livestock processing, having not only custom slaughter facilities, but also USDA. We now have 4 friends down in Clarkston. Those are huge things that people have come together, farmers, nonprofit organizers, university folks, other community members, and are really striving to make that infrastructure come alive to better support our local food system. And then we have a whole number of people that are looking at food access and saying that it's important to be able to make food available, local food available to people that have lower incomes. And so we have like Backyard Harvest that has formed and is doing the EBT program. And I'm getting a time check here. But we also, Guy Spencer and his mom Bev with Runner Bean Ranch, they're growing for food banks, and we have programs that fund farmers to do that. Those are the edges that we're on that we can really push forward. So can I go into the agenda?
Yes.
Okay.
What's in here?
So we want to go into your packet with that setting of the stage of pushing forward. And you have an agenda in your packet that is laying out the day. We're going to have a great keynote presentation from Bill Snyder talking about the power of on-farm research. And the way that came about is a lot of farmers are talking about how they're experimenting on their farms. And we have more and more researchers who are doing research on farms. 20 years ago, it was pretty novel to do research on a research station farm. We were just working with faculty to get them to take it off of the research farm and do replicated trials on farm. So I think we're way beyond that now, and there's a real opportunity for us to create partnerships at this conference between researchers and small farmers to answer some of the pressing questions of today. And a lot of our sessions are designed to help build those conversations. So our university research session is both highlighting research that's going on now, but also has a time slot for discussion to talk about what else is going on? What else do you need to know? If you're a farmer, that's an opportunity for you to say, hey, it'd be really helpful for me if the university would look at this. After that, we're going to have lunch, and we have a lot of break time built into the day for networking and also visiting the poster session that you saw when you came in. And we have displays and vendors over in the Silver Room, which is on the other side of the break area as you go into the Vandal Ballroom. We did work with Vandal Dining to do local and seasonal foods within our menu today, and I have to say, as Cinda said, it was a lot of work. The dining did not know what we were talking about 20 years ago. I sat down with dining for this, and they knew what I was talking about. And so that was really great. The muffins that you had this morning, those were made with Shepherd's Grain flour. Shepherd's Grain is one of those businesses developed by farmers to promote sustainable agriculture and value chains within the food system. It's great that that is a staple product of Vandal Dining. After lunch, we're going to have a panel of our legacy farmers to talk about what they've seen happen in the last 20 years and some of the ideas that they have for the future. And then we're moving into farmer-to-farmer discussions. And so in those discussions, they're going to be farmer-led. There's probably going to be a short presentation in some of them, or the farmer telling their story of what they're doing around that specific topic. And then they're going to help lead a discussion with other farmers and researchers and people within that room. We're going to conclude our afternoon together with two really powerful capstone speakers, Laura Garber, who because of the weather is going to be joining us for all her sessions via Zoom, so we get that technology boost. That's really nice. And Beth Robinette, as I mentioned, from Link Foods and Lazy R Ranch. We'll have a brief closing, and then we'll have an after party at Moscow Brewing Company that I'll talk a little bit more about later.
I just wanted to go through a little bit more. You also have a map of the facilities here today. This is going to be crucial in finding your sessions, so please keep this handy. We also wanted to thank the planning team. It's not by a long shot, just Colette and I helping to put this together. We've had a lot of help, and if you're in the room, please raise your hand or stand up. Amanda Snyder, there's Amanda, helped us tremendously. Kathy Perillo, there's Kathy. Ken Hart, oh, yeah, there he is in the back. Let me say that Amanda Snyder, Ken Hart, Jennifer Jensen, back in the back, Kate Painter, right here, and Iris Mays are all University of Idaho Extension. Kathy Perillo is at WSU in the Crop and Soils Department, so I already introduced her. Marcy Miller. Marcy is the Executive Director of Rural Roots now, and also from WSU, Nicole Witham and Laura Lewis. And Nicole and Abba is back there. Abba, I don't even know your last name. Abba Kaiser. They have been helping us tremendously too, so thank you to all the planning committee. We're just going to do a little, we've got, yeah, yay. Thanks for stopping me. I'm just like, blah, blah. We want to get we have about 5 minutes. We want to get a sense of who's in the room. So if you're a farmer rancher, please raise your hand. Okay, good amount of people. Okay, great. If you're a student, raise your hand. Whether a university or high school student, we've got both here. And can I say how awesome it is that we have high school students here? That's awesome. Who's a university educator, extension, or such? Yes, okay, a lot of those. How about researcher? Some of you may be both, okay, got some researchers. What about technical support for farmers? NRCS, I don't think, okay, we got two technical support people, yay. You guys are important in our food systems too. And farm organization leaders? Besides Marcy, anybody else? Oh, okay, yeah, Abba. Yeah, okay. Great. Thank you so much to everybody who has contributed and who's here today. Anything else?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that this is not really clear on your map, but we have right in back of you 2 different rooms. This is the International Ballroom Southeast, and this is the International Ballroom Southwest. And this is the main International Ballroom North. When you go straight across, you're going to end up in the Vandal Ballroom, and the Gold Room is there. Kathy wanted me to point out that you have a list of the posters that are numbered 1 to, I believe, 17, or is it 18, Kathy? 17. Those posters are really amazing, showcasing some of the work being done related to small farms. During our poster sessions, the lead author for those posters is going to be available to talk to you about those projects, and you have abstracts in your packet that describe those posters as well.
Just say we have a bio.
So you have a pile.
A bio.
A bio. I thought she said, say we have a pile. And I'm like, okay. I just do what I'm told. Okay, we have bios.
Team, yeah, we got the bios of the speakers. We have more abstract of the posters, so more detail there. But what we wanted to point out is the evaluation tools that we have in here, and then we're done, and we'll get Bill on the stage. There is a sheet that says, what's next on here? So I want you to find that, because that's a note-taking sheet for yourself. You don't turn this into us or anything. This is just for you to write down notes during the day, like what are you going to do after this conference? A person you need to call, an important piece of information you need to remember. This is your tool to take home. Thank you, Iris and Ariel Iris Mays and Ariel Hagenbrod for contributing that. We also have a evaluation. Any of you that have been to extension conferences before know the routine. We have to evaluate the conference. It really helps us in developing new conferences. And so this will be handed in at the very end. We also, in your sessions, are going to evaluate those sessions. I told Colette that this was over-evaluation, but she wouldn't let go. But of course, I'm retired and I don't care anymore, so. We also have this sheet. It's tiny. This sheet is, if you want to be involved in on-farm research, if you want to know more about it, how you can participate, please leave this at the front desk. And we also have some information in your packet. Do you want to say anything about that? And we're over time, I believe. Right, Kate?
Okay. I just want to thank our sponsors. The USDA Western Sustainable Ag Research and Education Program is one of the main sponsors for this event. And we also have a grant through the USDA NIFA program looking at the Agricultural Research and Food Initiative. I had to think about that acronym. And that grant is also helping fund our conference. And so many thanks to them. With that, I think we've talked for our allotted half hour. And I know that Dr. Petty is sorry not to be here with us today because she's very supportive of the work that we're doing in small farms. So with that, I am not going to do a long introduction of Bill, but I do want to say Bill Snyder, he's an entomologist with WSU. He is well known for being a great researcher and a great colleague. And he's internationally known. So it could be good or bad. So we're really delighted that he's here today to talk about innovations in on-farm research and about what you can do on your farm to learn more and answer the questions that are important to you and the sustainability of your production system. So thank you, Bill.